This is Novel Marketing, the show for novelists who aren't necessarily fond of marketing, but still want to become best-selling authors.
Episode 145.
I'm James L. Rubart, but you can call me Jim.
I'm Thomas Umstattd Jr.
And in this episode, we're going to talk about how to create a reader magnet. A reader magnet, some people call it a lead magnet, oftentimes in the business world, is an immediate reward readers get for subscribing to your email newsletter. And as you know, Thomas and I are very passionate about building that email list. So Thomas, before we dive in, can we talk just real briefly about your Darth Vader imitation that's going on?
Yeah, so on our way back from Hawaii, as y'all know, I spoke in Hawaii on marketing. My wife picked up a cold from somebody in the airport or something. You know, when you're in an airport, in an international airport, you have no idea what you're catching. And so about the time I recovered from jet lag, I had one good day of work and then I got the cold from her, and it hit me harder than any cold has hit me in my adult life. It was so bad. There's like fun sick where you're, watching TV, and then there's miserable sick where you're curled in a ball in your bed asking about your purpose in the world and why you're on this planet, and like having existential crisis and wondering if you're going to die. And I was definitely in that latter camp. So I'm a little better now, or I'm actually a lot better now, but I'm still not better. So just forgive the voice. I'm going to try to have good energy for this episode. And we talked about lead magnets a little bit in episode 129. We talked about short stories, and we said, these would be a great thing to give away to people as a reward for signing up for your newsletter, but we never explained how to do it. And I was helping a client the other day, and I was like, we have a guide on how to do this. And I looked, and we don't have an episode on this. And so I'm like, we need to fix this. So anyway, let's do that. But first, we have a sponsor. Jim?
We do have a sponsor. MyBookTable is our sponsor of this episode, and they provide a way to quickly and easily build an online bookstore on your WordPress website. So this is specifically for WordPress, but I'm guessing most of you have WordPress websites. And you can use this, MyBookTable, you can use it to rank #1 on Google for your book, which will boost your book sales on sites like Amazon and Barnes & Noble, etc., etc. And you can get it for the low price of free at mybooktable.com. And Novel Marketing patrons, if you are a patron, you can save 25% on the pro version. There is a pro version, paid version of MyBookTable. So anyway, go to mybooktable.com. You can get all the information on it. And if you have a WordPress website, I would encourage you highly to check that out.
All right, so let's talk about what a lead magnet is, or a reader magnet. We're going to use these terms interchangeably. I'm from the business world, or I do a lot of work with businesses, and so we've always called them lead magnets. I think Mark Dawson started calling them reader magnets, and it's a clever name for this, although it's a little misleading, because this isn't about attracting strangers to become readers per se. A lead magnet is about attracting people who are readers and getting them on your email list. You may be able to get strangers to sign up for a lead magnet, but it's more importantly, what's more valuable, a email list of readers or an email list of strangers? You want to get your readers first, and if you can get strangers too, that's great. But somebody who's already paid to read one of your books is the warmest audience for a future episode. So, and I've actually put together an example lead magnet specifically for this episode. So you can go through this process, and I'll be going through this process between when we record this and when this episode goes live.
But Thomas, let me jump in just for a second and mention something that I'd never thought about until a number of years ago. And that is, I always thought, they read one of my books, they'll read them all. And it's not the case. I was actually listening to a lecture by a New York Times bestselling author, multiple New York Times bestselling author with 30 books out. And so he asked a question to this crowd. He said, "Hey, how many of you have read at least one of my books?" And all the hands went up. "Hey, how many of you have read," and he's got 30 books out, keep in mind, "how many of you have read, 5 of my books?" And about half the hands were up. "How many of you have read all of my books?" Like there were 2 hands that went up. And I realized people get busy and they forget. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. If you're not in front of them and reminding them, hey, I have a book out, they're going to forget. And so Thomas's point about you got to get your readers, you got to get them first. It's absolutely critical.
Yeah, and building a big email list is the biggest driver of hitting bestseller lists and of selling books. We talk about this all the time, but people are like, how do I sell more books? Have a bigger email list. How do you build a bigger email list? Well, one way that helps is to have a good lead magnet. So I put one together, except it wasn't me. It was one of my students who listened to me speak for a week. So have you ever watched a YouTube video where, like, as somebody's speaking, there's this like hand and it's drawing an outline with like figures and pictures of the speaker? And, it's this really kind of beautiful graphic that's created. Well, one of my students did that. Like, the whole time I was speaking, she was taking notes on an iPad and like did graphics and outlines and like drew. It was amazing. And that was just how she took notes. And I was like, could you send those to me? And so I have them. Her name is Kayla Norris. And I will share my outline of all of what I taught for a week. So you get a summary of a week's worth of my training on how to sell more books in summary, beautiful graphic form for free. All you have to do is go to episode 145 of Novel Marketing /145, and there will be a sign-up form that you'll sign up for, and then you will get this delivered to you after you sign up on the sign-up form. Now, that is an example of a reader magnet, this PDF. It's not expensive for me to give this to you, and this one is wonderful because Kayla did an amazing job. I didn't even have to make it. And what will happen, you'll get added to our email list when you sign up for that. Now, we are not going to talk too much about what to use as a lead magnet. If you write novels, the best thing in general is to just write a short story. We may do an episode for nonfiction folks in the future of other things, because there's a whole list of like, top 10 lists and tip sheets and guides and, white papers and all kinds of things for nonfiction. But for fiction, it's mostly just a small sample of your writing a short story format. So anyway, this is free. You'll get to go through the process, but here's the catch. You have to do it in the next month. So with our free giveaways that we do from time to time, they're only free for a month, and then they're patrons only after that. So you have to get it in the month of July 2018, or become a patron. For those of you listening in the future, it's only $2 a month. So anyway, let's get on with how to do it.
Hey, Thomas, before you get into that real quick, Kayla, Thomas actually had me Skype in, and I taught a session on writing back cover copy for his students in Hawaii. And Kayla sent me her notes from my session. And when I got this, I thought, you've got to be kidding me. This is artwork. Really, folks, this is beautiful. I mean, it's just so amazing that she has that gifting. So yes, it is worth for the content, but also to see just artistically how someone expresses themselves.
Yeah, I may hire Kayla in the future to do an animated version because it's really cool. And anyway, I'm really thankful for her for doing that. All right, so let's talk about how to actually make the lead magnet. And the first step is to figure out what people want. This is in some senses, the most important step, because if you get this one wrong, it's kind of like if you're buttoning a shirt, and if you get the buttons out of order, all the other buttons are out of order after that. So it doesn't matter any of what the rest of this is if you create something people don't care about. And so you need to, ask your readers what they want from you. What could you give them that would be interesting? Another thing is you can check your Google Analytics if you write nonfiction, like what blog posts are really popular. Sometimes if you have like a blog post series where these 3 posts are super popular, you bundle those together in a nice PDF. That could be a good an ebook. Or and another way is to listen to what people are asking you for. So if everyone is asking you, what happened to Joe and Sally, these minor characters in your book, what happened to them? And you don't talk about it because the main thrust of the story wasn't about them. Well, write a short story about Joe and Sally, and now you've got a lead magnet that is going to resonate with your audience. The second step is to write a compelling pitch for the lead magnet. This is an example of why somebody should download this. Jim, why is this important?
You have to hook them in. You have to grab them. It's obvious to say this, but we are being hammered by so many things in culture. every instant. So your title has to make them go, gotta know more, go know more, so that title grabs them. It's just like a book, right? The title of the book has to grab them. Then the back cover copy has to grab them. And then they have to go inside the book and start reading it and saying, ooh, this really looks interesting. I need to know more. Well, think of your pitch as it's a mini book. You have to have a title where they go, ooh, that's going to solve a problem, or that's going to answer a question that's been pounding in my brain. Then you go to the little blurb. It's like, ooh, it does solve the problem. In fact, it solves but I got to download it to really get the answer to this question that's pounding around in my brain. And then that compels them to read the full page pitch. Oh, it's going to solve this and this and this. It's going to do this and this and this for me. Or as Thomas indicated, it will answer this question that I've been wondering. For example, I have a book that I am going to develop this for. It's a question that I get about this book more than any other question from readers. Well, I'm going to develop that into, here's the long explanation of what this is. All you have to do is sign up for my newsletter list and I'll give this to you.
And you may be like, do I have to, write a book title and a blurb and, back cover copy for a short story? And the answer is yes. You need to do it for a short story. You don't necessarily need to hire it out, but it needs to be good enough. And this is great practice, by the way, of learning how to write a good title, learning how to write a great blurb. And I was working with a client, and she was giving away a Bible reading plan as a lead magnet. She does Bible studies. It was a perfect lead magnet for her audience. And, it was a 2-page PDF with, boxes on what to do each day. It was like a calendar. And I was like, we need to create a graphic for this. And she's like, it's only a 2-page PDF. Do you really need a graphic? And it's not about how long it is, because this is like a 6-week plan that you're going through. Like, this is a lot of value that she's giving you, and a lot of work went into it. And you need to be able to represent what it looks like visually. So when we were done, she had this cool graphic, and it's now a 3-page plan. So page 1 was the cover, so to speak, and then she had the 2 pages of her lead magnet. And you'll want to put that together. And you're actually doing this before. You're going to notice actually writing the short story or creating the lead magnet is later. So you're writing the pitch first, because remember, the most important thing with the lead magnet is to get people to sign up, and that pitch has got to be good. So step 3 is create a compelling graphic. So you need to express visually what this is. You need a book cover. So you don't just need a title and a blurb. You need a book cover. Now, you don't need to go and spend $1 million on the same quality book cover necessarily. You can get, a cheap book cover off of Fiverr. We're going to recommend Fiverr several times actually on this. But Fiverr has people who will do quick and dirty book covers for you for $20. And they're good. They're not amazing. They're not good enough for you, like the book that you spent all year working on. But for a short story that you put together, it's probably better than what you could do, depending on how talented you are. And it's fast because you don't have to do it yourself. So Fiverr and there are like hundreds of graphic designers who do this on Fiverr, and you can take your pick and you can see samples of their work, and some of them are expensive, some of them are cheap. But a good compelling graphic is so important, just like a book cover is important. I don't Jim, do we don't really need to explain why the graphics important? I think people will believe us.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, step 4. Anything else on step 3?
No, except to say we always have these links in the show notes. So if you're saying, oh, I'm listening to this, I don't have a chance to write this down, you can go there and get the links. If you've never heard of Fiverr, for example, again, we'll have the links there to make it easy for you. That's right.
And the Fiverr link, some of these are affiliate links, and the Fiverr link is an affiliate link. So you'll give me a little bit of Fiverr credit if you click it, which is nice. All right, which actually I use a lot of my Fiverr money on making stuff for our novel marketing listeners. So help me help you. All right, real quick summary. Step 1, figure out what people want. Step 2, write a compelling pitch. Step 3, create a compelling graphic. Step 4 is you want to pick a delivery system. So you need to decide, once somebody signs up for your email list, how will the lead magnet be delivered to them? And there's different ways to do this. So the easiest way is on the in MailChimp, there's a thank you for subscribing to our email newsletter email that goes out. That's the confirmation email. And that is a customizable email for you. So you can go into MailChimp or whatever your email service is. Most of them let you customize this email. And you can add information to that. So the first lead magnet I ever did, the thank you page or the thank you email from MailChimp had the cover, the graphic that we designed in step 3, and it had a link, and they click on it and it would take them to a page on our website that had the lead magnet on it. Now, if you're giving a PDF or an MP3 or something like that, you can link directly to the PDF or the MP3 in that email. And it will start the download immediately for them. So you can cut the step of going to a page on your website out altogether. Another way to do this is to have it be as a drip sequence. So if you were to go to Author Media now and sign up, the reward, we have a reward that's given to you in the thank you email, but we have a second reward that's given to you in a series of drip emails that come over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And they come every 2 or 3 days. And we've gotten really great feedback from those emails. Now, if you're delivering a short story, ultimately you want to get that short story onto someone's e-reader, onto their Kindle. And most people have no idea how to load a PDF onto their Kindle. And depending on how they do it and how it's done, it's not necessarily an ideal reading experience, depending on how the PDF was created and depending on how they load it. And so ideally, you want to give them a Kindle file, and there are some tools to help you do that. So let's start with the expensive one. InstaFreebie is $20 a month, and it handles all of the technical aspects of this, regardless of what e-reader they're on. So whether they're on Kindle or something else, InstaFreebie will help you with that. BookFunnel has a plan that starts at $20 a year, so it's quite a bit cheaper than InstaFreebie. It does the same thing. And then there's a free service called Story Origin that does the same thing for free. So I'd recommend starting with Story Origin and see. And if you need the advanced features of BookFunnel or InstaFreebie, you can go with that. But Story Origin is free, and the free version they have is there's no limits. So it's like the full featured version of BookFunnel, InstaFreebie. So it's really powerful. And again, we have a link to that in the show notes. So just scroll down in your podcast app and you'll have a link to Story Origin. And those each have their own steps. If y'all are interested, we could maybe do an episode on BookFunnel or Story Origin specifically. Let us know. All right, let's go on to step 5 is actually create the lead magnet itself. So your lead magnet is going to start off as a Word doc. You don't want to give your Word doc away to people. Savvy people are going to be able to take your Word doc and see older versions. There's personal information about you that Microsoft puts into that Word document that you may not want them to get, including even like potentially your address and your phone number. And there's all kinds of Word documents are not really to be shared with strangers. And there's a lot of reasons not to do that because people also often have trouble reading them depending on what kind of device they're on. So you want to at least create a PDF, but ideally you want to make ebook files. And there's several different ways to do that. The easiest way to do this, and if you already have it, Vellum is a great tool. It's amazing. Everyone I know who has Vellum raves about it. In fact, in Hawaii, somebody had Vellum and they were talking about how I used to pay somebody hundreds of dollars to do this. Now I can do it in 5 minutes with Vellum. It's so great. The downside of Vellum is that it's $200, $250, and it's only for Mac. So it's not really worth buying if you're just using it for an ebook. The next tool is Calibre. This is the free open source version of an ebook maker. The downside with Calibre or Calibre, never sure what the official pronunciation of that is. You can see the spelling in the show notes. Is that it's really clunky and kludgy to use. It was not designed to be easy or approachable. What I'd actually recommend is to hire somebody on Fiverr to put it through Vellum if you don't have Vellum. For $5, somebody will run your book through Vellum and give you the ebook files. And then you don't have to worry about learning anything. That's the real easy way to do this, in my opinion. And that's what I would do. I would just hire somebody on Fiverr with good reviews and have them make the actual files for me. Jim, any thoughts?
Fiverr can be an amazing resource for you because a lot of times what happens with Fiverr is they'll do it for $5 and then you'll find out this person has other services. Essentially what people on Fiverr are trying to do is entice you for a very low price, and then they will offer their services to you. So you actually never know who you're going to find on Fiverr. Not all the time, maybe not a lot of the time, but every now and then you'll find a resource on there that can help you with other things as well. So if you have not checked out Fiverr, it is definitely a resource worth poking around on.
Yeah. All right. Step 6 is to add the sign up form to your website. The most effective way to do this is with a pop up. When we added a pop up to Author Media, we saw our subscriptions go up tenfold. So 1000% increase. And there is a way to do pop-ups that's not annoying. And the key is to use a professional pop-up tool where they don't pop all the time and they don't pop right away. So what you want to do is you want to set them up where they pop only after a delay and only for certain people. So I like to do it where it only pops after 30 seconds. And it, only if they hide it, it stays hidden for, 14 days or 30 days or something like that. And it is incredibly effective. Another way to do this is to create a landing page or a squeeze page. We'll talk more about this in the next step. And then a blog post. So, what do I blog about? Well, when you release a new lead magnet, that's a perfect blog post. In fact, you could even use your blog post about how amazing your new short story is as your landing page for the next step. The tool that I like and the one I currently use for creating sign-up forms is called Bloom. And you can use it to add sign-up forms to individual posts. It's what we're going to use for the example lead magnet. The outline of all of my marketing talks is a Bloom sign up form, so you can see how it looks there. You can use it for pop-ups. It gives you really good rules, so you can set the criteria on what pages does it pop, what pages does it not pop. And it's what another thing I like about it is that it comes bundled with elegant themes. So if you listen to our last episode and you got Divi, well, you have Bloom too. So it comes bundled in, and we'll have links if you want to get Bloom in the show notes. But I've used a lot of services. I really like Bloom. The one thing I wish Bloom has that it doesn't have is it doesn't have an exit intent pop-up. So when somebody's planning to leave a page, that intent is very obvious with their cursor, and you can have that be an instance to trigger the pop-up. Bloom doesn't have that, and because of patent issues, it'll never have it. Elegant Themes is too valuable of a company to get into a patent dispute. So the other companies that offer that are supposedly violating a patent to offer it, but they're so small they're not worth suing. But Elegant Themes is too established, so they have to follow the rules there, which is unfortunate. Jim, what are your thoughts on pop-ups?
I hate them, and they work. And not only, I mean, there's been times when I've been on websites where I consciously thought, oh, I should have signed up for something and not gone back. And other times when it's popped up, and even though it's annoying and I know what they're doing to me, it'll say things like, oh, no, I don't want to stay informed about things to do in the great outdoors. Yeah, I do. And I'll click and sign up. So they work. They work. They work. It goes back to Sam I Am. How many times did Sam close? Once? No. He asked the question again and again and again. And that's simply the science of sales and marketing. You have to ask the question. And a pop-up, as annoying as it is, it does work.
And you also can have it but not pop in the middle of the page, but Bloom has options where it kind of pops in the corner or pops along the bottom, and other ways that are less intrusive. So you can make it as intrusive as you want with Bloom. It's very powerful. And, even something subtle where it just pops or kind of slides up after 30 seconds in the bottom right corner of your website, you'll see has a huge improvement in performance over something inside of a widget on a sidebar. All right. So that is, you add the sign-up form. Step 7 is you promote the lead magnet. So once you have something to give away, you have to let people know about it. Now, you get all the people who are normally coming to your website, you get them for free, but you might consider buying advertisements for your lead magnet on sites like Facebook or other sites like that. Another thing you could do is you could put a link to your lead magnet in your book. So Jim, you did this. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I actually recently did this. I got the rights back to my first 3 novels, and in my first novel, Rooms, this is not a spoiler, but my main character, Micah Taylor, he starts playing guitar again. He put it aside for a number of years. He starts playing guitar again and realizes how much he loves it. So he starts recording these songs. And so I recorded one of the songs I've written because I play guitar, and my nephew helped me record it. And so I have this cool song, the type of song, and I did this intentionally, the type of song that my protagonist in my book would write and play. And so at the end of Rooms, you can click on this link where you can download that song for free and listen to this song that I created. And it's been extremely effective. A lot of people downloading that song. And MailChimp makes it really easy to do. I don't have to pay MailChimp anything. I can load the song there. So you click on that link in the back of the ebook Rooms right now, and you can download the song. You can actually listen to it online, or you can download the song. The requirement is, of course, that you sign up for my newsletter. And so that's a different way, a creative way, not just a short story, but something different. And so I would encourage you to think about your interest or your hobbies, or yes, short stories are great, but what can you do that's even more creative? And this might sound kind of cliche, but my gosh, some of you are going to create that recipe that's secret to you, and it's the traditional 4th of July recipe, and you're going to give them that recipe, and you're going to link to that in the back of the book. So think what things you already do. Maybe you are a musician, maybe you're an artist, don't know, but take those things that you're good at that maybe somebody isn't good at, and take it up a notch. Not just a short story like everyone else is doing, but do something that makes you stand out.
And if you want to see an example of Jim's landing page, which he actually built his landing page, or his squeeze page, and this is actually a squeeze page, he built it in MailChimp's new landing page building tool, which they didn't have when I was a kid. So this is a brand new, or they recently overhauled it. So you can check that out. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. And what makes a landing page a squeeze page is the fact that there is only one thing to do on that page. So if you go to this page, there are no links. He doesn't have a link to his website. He doesn't say, oh, here are my other books. There's only one thing to do, and that is you sign up for the list. And that's what makes it a squeeze page. It squeezes people to that one action. And for this kind of page, that's exactly what he wants. He doesn't want all those buttons. There's been a lot of split testing on this. And sometimes, wrapping a page with lots of buttons to other things just gives people ways of getting distracted. And then their phone rings, and then they never take action when they would have if you'd have just made it simple. All right. So final step. So real quick, figure out what people want. Step 1. Step 2, write a compelling pitch. Step 3 is create a compelling graphic. Step 4, pick a delivery system. 5, create the lead magnet. 6, add a sign up to your website. 7 is promote the lead magnet. And then finally 8 is measure. So watch your analytics. And this is the fun part, because you get to see your numbers go up. And you can also watch your MailChimp numbers. And as you create multiple lead magnets, you'll be able to see what's more effective and what's less effective. And one of the things that I like about Bloom is that it allows you to see analytics on a per sign-up form basis. So you can actually see exactly how many signups came from your pop-up, as opposed to the form that you embedded with a short code into your blog post. You can see which is more effective. And so it's really nice in that regard. And for us with Novel Marketing, we occasionally do these free giveaways for our listeners. Bloom will give us a report, and we can see which giveaways are more popular. So maybe both episodes got the same number of downloads, but one giveaway got twice as many signups as another. And I will say, for those of you who have already signed up, in the show notes for this episode is going to be a link to download. So you don't have to sign up again. If you're a Novel Marketing Insider, you get all of our giveaways emailed to you automatically. Although you do need to download them in the first month. So just click the email and download it. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful on how to create a lead magnet. And I really encourage you to make one. If for no other reason, if this episode has kind of helped push you over the edge to create a lead magnet, I really do encourage you to do that. Bloom's not the only service for adding pop-ups to your website. There's a lot of different ones that will do this, or sign-up forms to your website. There's a lot of other ones that will do this. The best ones, though, do cost money, and some of them are really expensive. So anyway, you can do your research on that. I used to use Pippity Pop-Up. They used to be good. They're now they're sort of good. I still use them on Author Media, but they're not what I use on anything new. So anyway, featured patron.
So our featured patron this week is Carrie Dawes, and the book that she would love us to talk about is the Embers series. Here's the description. Inspector Cassandra McCarthy never thought she'd be raising her 2 daughters alone, but her husband's unexpected death forced her to find a career. Now, working beside a retired special ops soldier and veteran fireman. She loves what she does and trusts God to provide until a hurricane and a series of unexplained fires hit too close to home. What will it cost Cassandra to protect the citizens of Silver Heights?
All right. Thank you so much, Carrie, for being a patron of Novel Marketing. If we have a few slots open, if you want to hear your book featured on our podcast, go to novelmarketing.com and click become a patron level. We have different patron levels that come with different perks. One of the perks is a Q&A episode every month where we answer your questions, and we just released our Q&A episode for June, a little bit late because of my cold, and I apologize for that. But we do want to know what you think. In fact, feel free to post in the comments a link to your lead magnet if you have one. And who knows, maybe for the first few folks, Jim and I will give you feedback. So go to novelmarketing.com/145 if you'd like feedback on your lead magnet.
This has been James L. Rubart and Thomas Umstattd Jr. on the Novel Marketing Podcast, giving you novel ideas on how to promote yourself and your writing offline, online, and everywhere in between. Thank you so much for listening.